The legislative agenda of the 10th House is the barometer to monitor and evaluate the engagement of the House with Nigerians.
So I'm really looking forward to seeing where we can support the new House of Assembly and your agenda.
We also like to know what the scheme is doing to mitigate this problem going forward.
The legislative agenda of the 10th House is the barometer to monitor and evaluate.
Hello viewers, I welcome you to this edition of our program, Abuja Weekly File. I'm Folashade Abdusalami.
The legislative agenda of the 10th House is the barometer to monitor and evaluate.
By raising our IGR from countries of
where we at the National Office will focus on going to conversation.
And as a child of God, as one who fear God,
the driver of our project.
We also like to know what the scheme is doing.
Independence Day is a very historic event in the.
It's a testimonial you need to acknowledge.
I want to know if there is any plan or program.
So it is only for Nigerians to tap and go to the next level.
And to align the service, the price paid by consumers with the quality of service that they receive from the utilities. So the power outage reporting system will help us in a long way.
And there's many people inside. They are sleeping there, but they take some to hospital. They take them to hospital. Some are dead, some their head has break, some are their leg, everything. They have taken them to hospital.
I'm not an abode for crime and criminals. My ancestral home was a forest, a thick Penkonkon mountain for safety from arrest, a home for hunting and farming in times of hunger and famine.
So I'm really looking forward to seeing where we can support the new House of Assembly and your agenda.
Join us next week, same time, same station. Your host, Folashade Abdusalami. Bye for now.
The legislative agenda of the 10th House is the barometer to monitor and evaluate.
This week we bring to you, as usual, activities from Abuja, capturing the various activities within the presidential villa. We also serve you other events from the National Assembly, ministries, departments, and agencies of government, as well as political events of national interest. Top of the event was the Federal Executive Council meeting held on Monday after a long while. It was, however, disclosed that the Federal Executive Council meeting will be Mondays, but no longer a weekly affair, as it will be convened as the need arises. Major highlights of the Monday's FEC meeting was the proposed 26 trillion appropriation bill to be presented to the National Assembly anytime soon. On the governorship election coming soon in Bayelsa, Kogi, Imo State, the People's Democratic Party has insisted on electronic transmission of results from the polling units, but the Independent National Electoral Commission is saying the electronic transmission of results is not on the cards. Rather, INEC says it will deploy the bimodal voter accreditation system and the INEC results viewing portal for the conduct of the elections. This means uploading and beaming snapshots of EC8 forms for viewing by the general public. This and more interesting stories will be brought to you shortly. Relax, join us for this interesting package. Monday witnessed the second Federal Executive Council meeting at the Presidential Villa, Abuja, which was presided over by President Bola Tinubu. Earlier at the meeting, the three additional ministers who were recently screened by the National Assembly were confirmed, expanding the federal cabinet to a record-breaking 48 members. The oath of office was administered to Balarabe Lawal, Ayodele Olawande, and Jamila Biu Ibrahim.
The three appointees already have ministries allocated to them to oversee. The Minister of Information, Mohammed Idris, however, disclosed after the meeting that the administration of President Bola Tinubu has moved the FEC meeting to Monday. It will be recalled that the previous Buhari-led administration held a weekly FEC meeting on Wednesdays. Honorable Idris further disclosed that the Monday council meeting may not hold regularly, especially if there is nothing very pressing to be discussed.
That from now onwards, the President has approved that Federal Executive Council meeting will now be happening on Mondays as against the traditional Wednesdays that you are used to. So FEC meetings have been moved to Mondays every day of the week. Of course, that does not mean that it has to happen every week. If there are no issues to discuss, of course, it will be skipped to the next Federal Executive Council meeting.
This council meeting will be the second meeting of the council since the inaugural meeting was held on Monday, August 28, 2023. A minute silence was also observed in honor of Mr. Jose Adeogun, who died at the age of 96. He was the first minister of Federal Capital Territory during the regime of Murtala Muhammad. Other discussions on policies and projects towards the fulfillment of the president's executive functions tabled at the council meeting are the $1.5 billion concessional loan for budget support from World Bank, which got approval by the council. The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edu, made this disclosure while briefing State House correspondents also after FEC meeting. He added that an $80 million financing from the African Development Bank was also approved to finance a project in Ekiti called Project EKZ, basically to support young people towards advancement of technology in the country.
The world today is one of high interest rates as the developed world looks to fight inflation. They're doing it by restricting money, keeping interest rates high so that they can get inflation down. What that means is that interest rates for everybody else become not just high, but very painful, if not unaffordable. Within that context, Nigeria has been able to make the kind of macroeconomic moves, has been able to take the tough decisions to restore balance in the economy, in the government's finances.
However, the Minister of National Planning, Atiku Bagudu, said the executive is in talks with the legislature on consideration of the medium-term expenditure framework 2024 to 2026, and also the projected presentation of the 2024 budget of over 26 trillion naira to the National Assembly.
So this Fiscal Responsibility Act is for the years 2024 to 2026. The $700 reference price assumes our optimism. The assumptions include oil price benchmark, which I said for 2024, we are assuming 73.96, oil production of 1.78 million barrels a day, exchange rate of 700, then the inflation of 21%, and GDP growth rate of 3.76%. The aggregate expenditure is estimated at 26.01 trillion naira for the 2024 budget, which includes statutory transfers. The
Minister of Labour and Employment, as well as the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, said They have presented memos on various interventions, including the approval for implementation of the federal government's agreement with the organized labor.
But we went beyond mere agreements to tell them that something different this time is happening. Because one part of the agreement was to file it in a court of law, which we have set the process already, and the other one was the presidential approval. There cannot be any presidential approval more than the Federal Executive Council. So we presented them to the Federal Executive Council. We analyzed on each and every aspect of the agreement, and to show the genuineness and also the provide for harmonious and a good industrial relationship. And that was why it was presented and it was approved for implementation. The initial yes was agreed that within 30 days, we agreed for 30 days. And so within 30 days, there must be evidence of implementation.
The finance minister also disclosed President Tinubu's commitment not to breach statutory limits in obtaining budget support facility from the Central Bank of Nigeria through the Ways and Means Advance. Subsequently, on Tuesday, the launch of Renewed Hope Conditional Cash Transfer for 15 million households took place at the Presidential Villa, Abuja, to commemorate the International Day for the Eradication of Poverty. President Bola Tinubu, who was represented at the occasion by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, assured Nigerians of the administration's commitment to structure the Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation Ministry with a 7-year roadmap to tackle food security, end hunger, eradicate poverty, drive economic growth, and create jobs. The president, who pledged investments of 75 billion naira to support small and medium enterprises and startups, said his government will lead from the front in seeking to ensure that all Nigerians have decent opportunities for dignified work and sustained social protection.
My government will lead from the front in seeking to ensure that all Nigerians have decent opportunities for dignified work and sustained social protection. Today, my administration is launching the Renewed Hope Conditional Cash Transfer Program for vulnerable groups as an immediate intervention to cushion the effects of fuel subsidy removal and other economic shocks. However, the government is working to develop and deploy several more solutions and interventions to help Nigerians of all walks of life. These include A, investment of 100 billion to purchase 3,000 units of 20-seater compressed natural gas powered buses for cheaper transportation. B, investment of 200 billion naira to cultivate 500,000 hectares of farmland to improve food security. C, the release of 2,000 metric tons of grains from the strategic grain reserves to households across 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory.
The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Betta Edu, earlier reiterated the resolve of President Tinubu to pull Nigerians out of poverty while mitigating humanitarian crises across Nigeria. Betta Edu further disclosed that the conditional cash transfer of 75,000 naira will reach about 61 million Nigerians, saying 4 persons are already beneficiaries.
In total, 15 million households will be receiving 75,000 naira over a space of 3 months. This equates to This equates to about 61 million Nigerians directly benefiting from the conditional cash transfer.
The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, and the World Bank representatives also aired their views on the initiatives.
There is concern when payments are being made like this. And in this particular case, the audit trail is there. The mechanism that is going to be used is one that is biometric. It is proven. You will be able to name every single person that has received those funds.
Funds that could have been used for healthcare, basic education, rural roads, were going elsewhere. It's leaking out to neighboring countries. And yet, it's understandable that taking such a move would require real political courage. And His Excellency, the President, was willing to take that. And that's where the renewed hope in terms of a better future for Nigeria, it starts there, because otherwise the government would not be able to afford the many services, what it owes to the Nigerian people.
On the sideline, the Minister of Information, Mohammed Idris, has disclosed the commitment of the Tinubu administration to providing an enabling environment for press freedom, noting this administration has no intention of restricting the press. He disclosed this to the State House correspondents after his meeting with the president at the presidential villa, Abuja. While noting press freedom comes with responsibility, Idris emphasized that press freedom should be exercised in a manner that upholds ethical standards and promotes responsible reporting. The minister, however, noted that the Ministry of Information and the National Orientation is the mandate office for national orientation, being the custodian of national values and symbols which reflect the country's collective heritage.
You know that this is a very delicate line to toe. While government and Mr. President and all of us in that sector are committed to ensuring that there's press freedom, that freedom, like I said, comes with responsibility. A lot of things that some of these people in the social media are doing is also not very patriotic. Sometimes you say news that is not factual. But I don't want a situation where it will be seen that government is trying to gag the press. I want that to be underscored. There is no attempt by government to gag the press. We are going to do whatever it takes that is responsible, that is also accountable. Responsible journalism is the way to go.
On the economic hardship in the country, Senator Tanko Almakura has urged Nigerians to be patient with President Tinubu on his economic development plans. Almakura, who represents Nasarawa South in the Senate, pleaded for time to allow President Tinubu's vision and policies materialize for the good of all. The former Nasarawa State Governor spoke with reporters on Wednesday, shortly after a private meeting with President Tinubu at the State House.
I had a very wonderful discussion with him, and given his disposition and vision towards making this country great, I have seen the renewed agenda, renewed hope agenda, as something that will change the scheme of things for the better for this country, especially in the areas of security, economic development, and already we can start seeing how sustainable growth and sustainability is being achieved. If you look at the area of security, you see that a lot of efforts are being made to calm the fears of Nigerians in the economic sector too, and the well-being of Nigerians. I think Nigerians should be patient. I'm sure sooner than later, the vision and policies of this administration will rub positively on Nigerians.
A boost for the Abuja-Kano-Port Harcourt-Maiduguri Railway project as the President of People's Republic of China, Xi Jinping has assured refinancing towards the completion of the projects. The Chinese leader was said to have given a commitment while interfacing with Vice President Kashim Shettima on a sideline during the ongoing Belt and Road Initiative Forum in Beijing, China. The offer came at the request of the Nigerian government. The deal will see China providing 85% financing for the projects, while Nigeria had already paid its 15% funding share at the inception of the project months ago. China has yet to release funds for the project, due largely to cutbacks and other commitments. Vice President Shettima, who stood in for President Tinubu at the event, described the rail project as very vital to the people of Nigeria, saying it remained a legacy project that would further open up the nation's economy, create jobs, and boost trade and investment across the country. Shettima reiterated President Tinubu's commitment to a stronger Nigerian-China ties based on mutual respect, non-political interference, and cooperation. Back home, the president during the week appointed new chief executive officers for government agencies, departments, and parastatals. A few of the appointments were renewed or tenured, while others were new. Away from the presidency, the chief whip of the Senate, Ali Ndume, staged a walkout on his colleagues during plenary on Tuesday. This followed a point of order he raised barely 10 minutes into the plenary, pointing out an error allegedly made by Senator Sumaila Kawo while moving a motion for the reopening of the Nigerian-Niger border without reading the title of the motion. Ndume, who represents Borno South, citing Order 51 to the Senate Standing Rules, requested the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, to allow for correction of any error made by a member during plenary.
SP and distinguished colleagues, we are just starting the session, and as we go, we should be taking note of the small mistakes that we can make, and we should correct them. The issue of saying that you have ruled, if the ruling is wrong, even the Supreme Court, when it passes judgment,
Distinguished Chief Whip.
But Akpabio interjected Ndume, saying he could not revisit any motion that he had already ruled on, thereby ruling the Borno senator out of order. Attempt by Kogi West Senator Sunday Karimi to sustain Ndume's line of argument was also overruled by Akpabio. This led to the Deputy President of the Senate, Jibril Barau, rising to read Order 16, which requires a substantive motion to be moved by any senator to correct or review an earlier discussion taken.
It's not respect with his motion, so that we don't continue to repeat this mistake again and again. It's Order 63. With your permission, I read. The President of the Senate, in the Senate, and the chairman in any committee shall be responsible for the observance of the rules of order in the Senate and committee respectively, and their decision upon any point of order shall not be open to appeal, shall not be open to appeal, shall not be open to appeal, and shall not be reviewed by the Senate except upon a substantive motion after notice. So once we have ruled, nobody can bring up that matter again until a notice is given and a substantive motion is tabled. So once you rule, you have ruled. Except we want to go against this.
Akpabio sustained Barrow's point of order, a decision which infuriated Ondume, who raised another point of order, Order 54, to sustain a correction of perceived error. Angered by Akpabio's decision, Ondume packed his document and stormed out of the chamber.
The point of order is Order 54 and the responsibility of the Chief Whip. Is it 54 or the Chief Whip? Just as a way of, advising the Senate on the way we do things. Mr. President, this is the Senate. This is the Senate. And we should not shy away from learning.
Sorry, the clerk, can I have that Order 54? Order 54. Order 54 says the Rules Committee shall allocate time to all sequence of speeches, motions, or bills coming before the Senate. So as we are coming under Order 54, this is what is written there. So I'm sorry, Leader, we rule you out of order.
To douse the rising tension, senators hurriedly went into a closed session where Ndume rejoined his colleagues and the matter was resolved. After the storm, the Senate urged President Tinubu to immediately declare a state of emergency on drug abuse in the country to safeguard the future of the country. This resolution was sequel to a motion on the growing menace of illicit drug use and other mind-altering substances across Nigeria. Senator Babangida Hussaini, who sponsored the motion, noted that drug abuse in Nigeria has reached an unprecedented level. The country, he noted, has moved from a mere transit route that it was in the 1990s to a country of drug abusers and drug traffickers.
Nigeria is currently facing a rise in drug abuse, which has reached an unprecedented level, transforming from a mere transit route in the 90s into a country filled with drug abusers and drug traffickers all over its land space.
Other lawmakers in their contributions expressed apprehensions over the use of mood alteration or psychoactive performance-enhancing drugs, dependence drugs, as well as abuse of prescription drugs.
We should, in my view, urge the President to lead the challenge. The President of the Federal Republic has to be urged to declare an emergency on this and to lead the national response to it.
That unfortunately, the words of most of our elites are also affected. Fortunately, we have a leadership of NDLE that is very, very determined. General Buba Marwa retired, was our governor in Borno State. And all of us here know his determination and capacity and the effort he has put in this NDLE that has turned it around and even given the institution an international recognition.
Any war, any country out in the whole world, any country, human capital is what is in the front burner, is what drives, good economy. And we have an abundant population, youthful population, and we're allowing it to get destroyed through, intake of illicit drugs. Is something that we need to all put our hands together to make sure we deal with it.
A lot has to be done by families if we have to bring this situation under control. And I think it's what Senator Dixon said, that we have reached a point of national emergency. We should convoke a national discourse on narcotics. And then at the end of it, we should come up to this chamber as legislators to formulate policies and possible legislations that can cope this situation and bring sanity to the society.
Consequently, The Senate resolved, among others, to implore the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, the Federal Ministry of Health, and other relevant government institutions to step up efforts at curbing the alarming consumption of Umpuru, Miri, and Kukura, which are prevalently in the southern and northern part of the country. The upper chamber subsequently directed its Committee on NAFDAC Drugs and Narcotics to liaise with relevant federal government agencies to convoke a national summit on the state of drugs and narcotic abuse in the country. The Senate at plenary on Wednesday confirmed the nomination of Ola Olukoyede and Mohammed Hamajoda as Chairman and Secretary of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, respectively. The screening and the confirmation of the two nominees followed their nomination by President Bola Tinubu. Olukoyede pledged to tackle financial crimes in Nigeria headlong, saying that the EFCC under his watch will clean up the country's image to attract foreign direct investment opportunities for the citizenry.
If I'm given the opportunity to be confirmed, one of the first things I'm going to do is to ensure that that MOU is executed so that will form a kind of working relationship between ICPC and EFCC, so that we'll be able to look, if ICPC is investigating someone using Nigerian taxpayers' money, why should I dissipate energy and resources to investigate if perhaps it's the same, the facts are similar? I don't think that is going to be the interest of of the nation.
Senate President Akpabio, however, cautioned the EFCC on the way its operatives often carry out arrests and detentions with regards to extant laws.
Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate confirm the nomination of Mr. Olanipekun Olukoyede for appointment as Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
It will be recalled that the former EFCC chairman Abdulrasheed Bawa was suspended by President Tinubu on June 14 and appointed the Commission's Director of Operations, Abdul Karim Chukul, as chairman in acting capacity. Bawa, who was said to have resigned, is still undergoing investigation at the Department of State Services. In a related development, the upper chamber also confirmed Halima Shehu as the Chief Executive Officer of the National Social Insurance Program Agency.
In the course of my banking career, I was trained on due diligence, transparency, and accountability in carrying out financial transactions.
Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate confirm the nomination of Mrs. Halima Shehu for appointment as National Coordinator and Chief Executive Officer of the National Social Investment Program Agency? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
From the National Assembly, House of Representatives has assured Nigerians of a speedy passage of the 2024 Appropriation Bill, which is expected to be transmitted to the Parliament by President Bola Tinubu in the next few days. Linda Ike has the reports.
The Speaker, House of Representatives Tajuddin Abbas, has decried the low budget allocation to the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation. Abbas said the budget is not sufficient to audit over 900 ministries, departments, and agencies in the country, hence the need for a review. Abbas, who was represented by the Deputy Speaker of the House, Benjamin Carlo, at the unveiling of the Public Accounts Committee, PAC, said to ensure effectiveness of service delivery and address any loophole in MDAs, it is essential to improve the inadequate resources of the Auditor General's office. He reiterated that the Committee on Public Accounts should ensure that agencies are held responsible and accountable when necessary.
The work of the PAC is complemented
by the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation. It is in this light that the Auditor General's office needs to be occupied. The appointment should be in place because it is a requirement of the Constitution. I am joining my voice to that of my brother, the chairman of the committee. We cannot afford to have an acting director, overseeing director, or in whatever nomenclature he is described, to occupy that all-important position. So this is a call to Mr. President to look into confirming the person who is there now, or anybody of his choice, to take up the role of the Auditor General of this country. It will send the right signal out that this government is really ready to pursue taxpayers' money. I am confident that the PAC will be vital in helping the 10th Assembly achieve its goals of ensuring transparency, accountability, and good governance in Nigeria.
The chairman of the House Committee on Public Accounts, Bamidele Salam, reiterated that as its core values, transparency, independence, fairness will be applied and assured that it goes to ensure a complete cycle of PAC activities are achieved.
And the purpose, I believe, is to ensure that we bring in the varieties of this expertise in the consideration of issues that will be coming before the Public Account Committee of the House of Representatives. Mr. Speaker, we have just held one meeting, and I want to assure you that the meeting we held has shown that members are really, really ready to hit the ground running and to ensure that the confidence reposed in us by the leadership of the House and by extension the Nigerian public is well justified.
The Auditor General of the Federation had earlier appealed to the National Assembly to consider increasing its budget for effective discharge of their duties. The House of Representatives Committee on Appropriation on Tuesday expressed its readiness to ensure speedy passage of the 2024 Appropriation Bill when brought before the House by President Bola Tinubu. The lawmakers also assured to extend their oversight jurisdiction over relevant government agencies in its monitoring of the budget implementation. Chairman of the committee, Abubakar Bichi, who stated this at the inaugural meeting of the committee, said the Green Chamber will ensure the sustenance of the long-established precedent of ensuring compliance with the Financial Year Act through budget passage on or before 31st December.
The committee will ensure the sustenance of the long-established and cherished precedent of ensuring compliance with the Financial Year Act through budget passage on or before 31st December of each financial year. This development will undoubtedly make the budget implementation from January to December operational and achievable.
Let me assure you on behalf of our members that you have nothing but our support. You have nothing other than the solidarity of members of this committee. And I must thank you for the depth of your consultation in virtually everything I have seen you do.
The committee's work plan was considered and adopted by the members. Also, the President, Nigerian Institute of Town Planners, Nathaniel Atebije, has called on the National Assembly to amend the Urban and Regional Planning Act and other related laws to meet current reality. Atebije made the call during a courtesy visit on Chairman House Committee on Urban Development and Regional Planning, Awaji Inombek Abiante in Abuja. He stressed the need for the Parliament to update the Act to meet current demand and to move urban planning matters to the concurrent list. He also tasked the committee to create enabling environment for implementing the Nigerian Urban and Regional Planning Law to guide physical development, recommending setting up relevant institutions at all levels of government to effectively implement and facilitate massive recruitment of professional town planners across the country.
We request that you create enabling environment for implementing the Nigerian Urban and Regional Planning Law to guide physical development and setting up relevant institutions at all levels of government to effectively implement them.
Responding, chairman of the committee, Awaji Inombek Abiante, said the committee is willing to collaborate with the Institute for Effective Urban Development across the country and also ensure effective emergency responses.
On our part, we want to pledge our support and our commitment that we will do that which is within our powers. We may not know the exact extent of the challenge you have with the legislation you have. We will require that you make submissions as appropriate.
Also, the Niger State Governor, Mohamed Bago, has urged the House of Representatives correspondents to pay attention in climate change reporting and not to concentrate on reporting politics alone. Bago made the call on Friday at the retreat organized by the state government for the correspondence of House of Representatives in Niger State with the theme, Role of the Media in Mainstreaming Climate Change Policies. Bago, who was represented by the Deputy Governor of the state, Yakubu Garoba, said climate change is one of the biggest problems confronting nations today. He urged the media to inform, educate, and enlighten the society on the implication of climate change, even as he disclosed that his leadership is prioritizing climate change to mitigate natural man-made disasters.
Climate change is one of the biggest problems confronting nations today. In Nigeria, it is a matter of concern to the government and the experts because it is happening at a very frightening level. We have problems of flood, desertification, environmental pollution, etc. And despite the effort being made, devastating effects of the climate change are recorded yearly. Even part of the insecurity we face today is attributed to the climatic change, which deserves priority attention. Unfortunately, it seems some of these disasters are even underreported. Perhaps the media is not adequately equipped to handle this. I believe that as a journalist who reports from the parliament, where laws are enacted, it is essential that you acquire the necessary skills and tools to mainstream the climate change. This can enable you to set an agenda for the legislature and indeed the executives. I hope that at the end of this retreat, you will all be better positioned to inform, educate, and enlighten the society on the implication of the climate change.
However, Commissioner for Environment and Climate Change, Niger State, Yakubu Kolo, said Niger State Maiden Green Economic Summit 2023, which is coming up on October 24 to 25th this year, will focus on how to handle the issues of climate change.
One of the functions, as we said, the mainstreaming of climate change of the media is to inform the audience about activities of climate change, acting as watchdogs, and also campaigning on social media to ensure that these informations on the issues of climate change get to the right people and to the grassroots. One of the three aims of green economy, economic recovery, poverty eradication, and reduce carbon emission and ecosystem degradation. These are some of the activities that at the end of the day, Niger State government want to achieve.
On his part, Uche Anune, Assistant Editor-in-Chief, News Agency of Nigeria, charged media practitioners to be objective in their reportage, most especially on climate change, to ensure that it is mitigated.
This is an era where everybody that has a smartphone, everybody that has a laptop is automatically a journalist. So we find out that all over the internet, all over the media space, there are a lot of information about climate change. Some are true, some are not true. Some are outright misinformation. Some are clear-cut anti-climate change rhetorics. So it is therefore our duty to make sure that the right information is put out there to the public to digest and take action to mitigate climate change.
Linda Ike, MITV News.
Correspondent Miriam Enahimion reports on education and other related events.
The Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Mama, has unveiled the Tertiary Education Research Applications and Services (TERAS) platform. Unveiling the platform initiated by the Tertiary Education Trust Fund TED Fund in Abuja, the minister said TERAS marks a significant milestone in the present administration quest to transform the nation's tertiary education sector. The minister stressed that its ministry will continue to provide the beneficiary institutions and TED Fund with unveiling support to fully realize the potentials of TERAS as a key component of its resolve in repositioning, strengthening, and rekindling hope in the tertiary education sector.
The ministry on its part will continue to provide our beneficiary institutions and TED Fund with unwavering support to fully realize the potential of TERAS as a key component of our resolve in repositioning, strengthening, and rekindling hope in our tertiary education sector.
The Executive Secretary of TED Fund, Architect Sonny Echono, however, said the unveiling and launching of the platform marks a significant moment in the history of Nigerian tertiary education. Echono said TERAS has been meticulously designed to seamlessly integrate various essential components, first in identity management through beneficiary identity management system (BIMS), followed by federated academic repository to address critical challenges faced by students, researchers, and institutions in accessing educational resources and research materials.
In continuation, the 2019-2020 ICT support provided funding for e-learning implementation. As of today, over 215 of our 253 beneficiary institutions are at various stages of completion in implementing this intervention. For this year, 2023, we released guidelines and commenced efforts to enhance online learning with the Blackboard system and increase capacity in communication skills for over 2 million staff and students of our beneficiary institutions.
The Minister of State for Education, Dr. Yusuf Sununu, said learning crisis has been a challenge in the education sector, which he said needs urgent solution. Speaking on Wednesday at the National Conference on the Learning Crisis in Nigeria in Abuja, Sununu said the consequences of learning crisis are far-reaching and profound. He further lamented that education is the cornerstone of societal progress and individual empowerment, yet the challenges the country is currently confronting demand immediate attention, dedication, and action.
A significant portion of our school-age population, especially those in underserved communities, face barriers to access to quality education. The factors contributing to this crisis are multifaceted and include inadequate infrastructure, teacher shortage, unequal distribution of resources, outdated curricula, and socio-economic disparities.
Also speaking, the chairman Nigerian Governor Forum, Governor Abdulrazak Mohammed, said a state of emergency should be declared in the sector, concurring the education in crisis. Abdurrahman, who was represented by his vice, Governor Sheyi Makinde, stressed the need to remove all barriers such as gender, poverty, location, disability, language, and ethnicity that could hinder Nigerians from accessing foundational literacy and numeracy.
Education is generally in crisis, and a state of emergency should be declared in the education sector in all the states of the Federation. Language and ethnicity should not create any barriers for Nigerian children from accessing and achieving.
However, the UNICEF representative in Nigeria, Christian Mudia, said the conference was from outcome of UN General Assembly in September 2023, where countries were urged to accelerate progress on Sustainable Development Goal 4.
Nigeria convening a conference on the learning crisis is opportune as government defines. Excuse me, I will continue like this, but so for Nigeria, being here on a learning crisis conference, it's a very opportune moment as government defines its priorities for the education sector in the new Minister Strategic Plan. Just as Nigeria has galvanized significant support around the out-of-school problem, so with the same priority, Nigeria must give attention to the learning crisis that is in fact fueling the out-of-school children. When children do not properly learn, when parents...
Conference organized by the Federal Ministry of Education in collaboration with the United Nations Children's Fund as the theme Scaling Foundational Literacy and Numeracy in Nigeria. Miriam Enahimion, Mitv, Abuja.
Also, correspondent Funke Adebayo captures developments in the political arena, civil society organizations, and more.
The national chairman of the All Progressive Congress, Abdullahi Ganduje, has urged media owners and journalists to be factual and objective in providing credible news while remaining staunch defenders of free speech and the society. The national chairman, who was represented by the APC Director of Publicity, Bala Ibrahim, made the call on Wednesday during the 2023 Democracy Newsline annual lecture and award presentation in Abuja. Ibrahim, while applauding the conveners for selecting the APC national chairman as one of the awardees, noted that the chairman over the years has been an advocate of disseminating quality information to the public to strengthen democracy and deserves to be commended.
If we want to remain, if we want to practice the job according to the dictates of the ethics, then we must shun personal interest. We must do things according to the book. And that is what I see lacking in some of us. Some of us tend to take sides with some parties or with some people, and in the process, we poison facts. Now, once you poison or adulterate fact, it becomes falsehood. And you should not be seen to be agent of dissemination of falsehood. My appeal to media practitioners is to remain steadfast, is to remain factual, and stand on the path of the truth. They must not be seen to be the opposition. Even if you don't agree with what is said, for God's sake, say it as it is said, and leave the listener, the viewer, or the reader to do the judgment.
Because politics is now seen as the main industry in Nigeria. People now want to use, either by crook, any means, to get into office. By doing that, they intend to spread fake news, rumors that are not funded, because they believe that is the only way to get at their opponent. Because fake news is also a strategy to get at your opponent.
Ahead of the 2023 November off-cycle election in Kogi State, a group, otherwise known as Kogi East Patriotic Association, called on the Nigerian police to swiftly arrest all individuals and politicians perpetrating violence against Kogites and security agents in the state. The convener, Kopa Abdulkadir Ojonugwa, while addressing journalists in Abuja, condemned the recent attack in Kogi State whereby a senior police officer was almost lynched by the allegedly thugs of the governorship candidates of the Social Democratic Party in Kogi State. The group lamented that violence is taking stage as the state continues to prepare for the election, adding that politicians that perpetrate these acts of violence are still parading the state without being arrested to answer for their atrocities. Ojonugwa argued that the Nigerian police had invited Muritala Ajaka and his cohorts over cases of violence during campaigns in the state, but he ignored the invitations and continued perpetrating evil in the state.
It is our desire to see a peaceful and credible election in our dear state. We have been monitoring the development in the state since the beginning of the campaign for the governorship election, and the trend of campaign of ethnic diversion and violence that had escaped our attention. Our sense of urgency in arranging this emergency press conference was further heightened by the violence we witnessed yesterday in Kogi State, whereby a senior police officer was almost lynched, allegedly by the thugs of the governorship candidate of the Social Democratic Party under the Sparrow's claim that he was involved in an attack against the convoy of Mr. Murtala Ajaka.
Still on politics, the Social Democratic Party allegedly accused the Kogi State Governor Alhaji Yahya Bello of attacking the SDP governorship ward rally held in Ejule, Kogi, Ofu local government of Kogi State. In a statement signed by the Director of Communications, Muri Sam Gubernatorial Campaign Council, Farouk Adejo Audu stated the government led by one Mohammed Nasir Alfa, said to be the Assistant State Chairman of the APC Kogi East District, descended on the rally venue at St. Matthew's Primary School, Ejule, and started shooting sporadically to disperse a mammoth crowd of the SDP supporters that had gathered for the event. The SDP therefore called on the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Inspector General of Police, the Director General of the Directorate of State Services, and all other managers of security and Federation to urgently intervene and address the drift in Kogi State. Meanwhile, an international child rights organization has called for more collaboration between the government at all levels and other relevant stakeholders to ensure that children survive, learn, and are protected to achieve the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals in Nigeria. The Chief Impact Officer, Save the Children International, Ibrima Saidi, made the call while addressing newsmen on the need to catalyze renewed efforts towards accelerating progress of the SDG, especially as it relates to children. The Chief Impact Officer, while commending the bold measure that the federal and state governments have taken to advance child rights in Nigeria, stressed the need to adequately budget for the existing laws, strategies, and plans. He also expressed SCI's commitment to continue working alongside the government to ensure that the right of every child to a healthy, safe, and sustainable future, as well as the right to be heard, is achieved. Saidi, while speaking on the recent outbreak of the diphtheria disease in Nigeria, called for a launching of a wide-scale health response with mass vaccination campaigns across the worst-hit areas, appealing to donors to support the comprehensive response.
To deliver children's rights is the government. And therefore, our role as Save the Children is to work with and complement the government to help them to be able to achieve that goal of providing the rights for children and fulfilling those rights for children. Where the strength and the systems are not there, we can go into delivering services, and we work with communities and children to build their capability to hold the duty bearers and leaders accountable for the work and the promises that they make to them. That's how we achieve outcomes for children. So our role is to complement the government at all levels, state level, local level, federal level. We work with them because they are the primary duty bearer to ensure that we achieve children's rights in Nigeria.
Funke Adebayo, Mitv, Abuja.
We draw the curtain of this week's edition. I do hope you did enjoy the package. Join us next week, same time, same station. I remain your host, Folashade Abdusalami, Mitv, Abuja. Stay safe. Bye. Hello viewers, I welcome you to this edition of our program, Abuja Weekly File. I am Folashade Abdusalami.
The legislative agenda of the 10th House is the barometer to monitor and evaluate.
By raising our IGR from Council of
where we at the National Office will focus on going to conclusion.
And as a child of God, as one who fear God,
the driver of our project.
We also like to know what the scheme is doing.
Independence Day is a very historic event.
Is a testimonial you need to acknowledge.
I want to know if there is any plan
or program.
So it is only for Nigerians to adapt and go to the next level.
And to align the service, the price paid by consumers with the quality of service that they receive from the utilities. So the power outage reporting system will help us in a long way.
And there's many people inside. They are sleeping there, but they take some to hospital. They take them to hospital. Some are dead, some their head has break, some are their leg, everything. They have taken them to hospital.
I'm not an abode for crime and criminals. My ancestral home was a forest, a thick Penkonkon mountain for safety from arrest, a home for hunting and farming in times of hunger and famine.
So I'm really looking forward to seeing where we can support the new House of Assembly and your agenda.
Join us next week, same time, same station. Your host, Folashade Abdusalam. Bye for now.
The legislative agenda of the 10th House is the barometer to monitor and evaluate
different tongues, we're united.